Hills Public Television is made possible by an underwriting grant from the Citizens National Bank, a locally owned family bank with locations in Concordia, Belleville, Greenleaf, and Clay Center, covering north central Kansas and assisting you with your financial needs. By Farm Bureau Financial Services, helping people like you for more than 60 years with information about insurance and financial products and the location of your nearest local agent available at this website. The Concordia Blade Empire. By Cloud County Community College, Prairie Fire Steakhouse, Funk Pharmacy and Medical Equipment, Brown Grand Theater. By Century 21, Tom's Music House, Gold Bank of Concordia. By Welcome Service, People's Exchange Bank, Cloud Corp, and by Knowles Travel of Concordia and Salina.
One day in January, Smoky Hills Public Television took a trip to Cloud County, where volunteers were assigned to tell us about their homes using their own video camera and given only a week to gather the information. The volunteers came together once again to tell the stories that make their community unique.
Everybody that lives in Concordia or anywhere else should know.
My father-in-law came on the orphan train, so I've had this interest in it.
Our Town, a Day in Cloud County.
I got shots of the airplane that was in the museum and all the military uniforms and the toys that they have. I look at it and I think how good I've got it now compared to what people had it back then.
This is Cloud County Historical Society Museum, and I'm Linda Palmquist. I'm the director-curator. I'll be giving you a tour of the museum today. In the museum, we have the Lincoln Page airplane. This is Charlie Blosser's airplane. It was bought in 1928 up in Lincoln, Nebraska, and Charlie flew it all over Concordia. One very important thing to a museum is children, and when the school children come, they love to sit in the schoolroom at the desk and let us talk to them about the recitation bench and the other things that were part of a one-room schoolhouse. In order to make children feel really happy in the museum, then one place they do enjoy most of all is the toy section behind me. And the toy section has lots of different kinds of toys, vintage toys. It's got some skateboards that the boys like these days, and the scooter's quite funny because the scooter is something that children didn't know what they were a couple of years ago, and now today all of them look at it and go, oh yeah, that's a scooter. We have many military uniforms in the museum, and many people are very proud to have their uniforms stored here. They're in the museum most of the time. The only time they leave is once a year. They are moved, some of them, to the storefronts, so you can see them there too. The uniforms feature about every branch of the military. This is the Milliron Wilson House. It's the newest part of the museum. The house was purchased with Milliron money, which was donated to the museum some years ago. The furniture within the house are Helen and Robert Wilson's. One thing that Robert and Helen Wilson loved most of all was their blue willow. There was a 24-place setting of blue willow in a prominent place in the living room, dining room area of the house. Those dishes are partially on this table and in a number of cabinets within this home. We have documentation on the mill irons and on the Wilsons in this study room off of the kitchen. The stove was Robert and Helen Wilson's. It's not the one that they were using at the time the museum inherited the estate, but it was one that was already in the museum and it was theirs, and so we decided to put it in their house.
I just like to thank the museum because it helps the next generations understand the culture of Cloud County.
My assignment for this was to film Lowell May at the Concordia Museum about the prisoner of war camp. It was called Camp Concordia, but everybody in Concordia just knows it as the POW camp. It's about a mile north of Concordia, and it used to be one of the biggest camps in the United States. It was even bigger than Concordia at the time. Right now, there's just a field with crops in it, and about 10 yards off the road is a brick tower, like 8 feet by 8 feet, and it's probably 20 feet tall. And that was I think it was the entrance to the prisoner of war camp, and that's all that is still there.
The government bought the land in January of 1943, and the construction started immediately. On the 15th of July, the first 400 prisoners came in. The camp was designed to hold 4,000. The prisoners went out to work on farms, which is where most of the work was done. The farmers learned to rely on them. They were good workers. The farmers started feeding the prisoners because the government was only giving them a couple sandwiches, and the farmers didn't think that was enough food for the noon meal, so they got permission to feed the prisoners. And they would take the prisoners in the house and have a really good meal for them. And it got so that the prisoners enjoyed that, and one of the first things they would ask when they showed up in the morning for work is, "What's for lunch?" The officer prisoners that stayed in the camp, besides the university, they had painting classes, they had sports, they were treated excellent. The policy was to go strictly by the Geneva Convention, which is what the United States did. We fed, clothed, and housed them just like we did our own troops. In fact, the barracks that the American guards slept in at Camp Concordia were identical to the barracks that the Germans slept in. The German officers had clubs that they called casinos, and they even had beer in these clubs. They had canteens where they could buy beer, cokes, milk, cigarettes, tobacco, magazines, newspapers, even radios. Camp Concordia became one of the premier camps in the country. The prisoners did not really want to escape. There were 2 escape attempts, or actual escapes, but both were returned. The first one was returned to the camp within 18 hours, and the second one took them 3 days to find them. And they only got as far as Cortland, which is only about 20 miles.
It's something that anybody that lives in Concordia or anywhere else should know, just because a lot of the prisoners and guards that came over in the camp, a lot of them decided not to leave and stayed in Concordia and built their houses and made families. And a lot of my friends and other friends that go to this school are descendants of those people, and a lot of the elderly people in this community are people that were there. So it's good to know the significance of the POW camp.
We had a couple episodes take place here in Cloud County, one dealing with a family, a Benjamin White family that came to the Cloud County area in the 1860s. And what had happened then, when Benjamin and the 3 boys were out haying, some Indians actually approached the fields. About this same time, back at the homestead, Mary and the younger girls were also approached by some Indians. On their way out, they took one of the younger girls, Sarah, with her. Then General Armstrong Custer, who was stationed in Kansas, gets involved in some Indian battles and so on around the area, and somehow then gets on this trace to try and find Sarah. And also at the same time as the Indians left, a lady from around Delphus was also kidnapped. To make a kind of a long story short, Custer is able to find the girls in an Indian camp down in Texas. Sarah was able to come back, was able to marry, raise a family, and never really talked about it much. But later on in years, I know some of the larger papers in Kansas were able to interview her, and she talked about the trials and so on that she had with the Indians. And it's a real interesting story. And we have a monument just west of town where the old homestead was, Benjamin White Homestead, 1868 there. Plus a book had been written called The Price of the Prairie back in the early 1900s, and they actually in the book talk about the episode of Custer retrieving and being able to get back the two girls from the Cheyenne Indians. Another very interesting historical episode took place in Concordia, Kansas, involving a man by the name of Boston Corbett. I think most people really don't recognize the name, but he became famous for he is the man credited with shooting John Wilkes Booth, the man, of course, who had assassinated President Lincoln. He was in the Army at that time and from the Boston area, and he was really quite a sharpshooter. And he joined the group of soldiers that were actually assigned to try and round up John Wilkes Booth and capture him. And as the story goes, of course, they surrounded John Wilkes Booth in an old barn in Virginia, tried to get him to surrender. He didn't seem to want to do that, and so they set fire to the barn to try and chase him out. And the soldiers were given orders not to shoot him. Well, Boston Corbett, whether he didn't hear these orders or what, saw an actual crack in the barn and was able to get his weapon through this crack and shoot John Wilkes Booth. And it's interesting that everybody at that time kept commenting about how the injury, the shot, actually came in the same way, the same area through the neck and so on that President Lincoln was killed. John Wilkes Booth lived for a few hours after that, but did die. But anyway, Boston Corbett eventually ended up in Cloud County. And he was a strange kind of a fellow. He went out south of town, bought him 80 acres of land. He actually, the way he was able to do this, he was actually given the reward money of $1,000-some-odd for the reward for John Wilkes Booth. And so he was given that reward money, or part of it, and he used this money to build him he actually, a little dugout is all he had in the ground, and he had 80 acres of land out there.
When the theater opened in 1907, one of the big events of the evening was the showing of the Grand Drape. It was given to the Colonel as a surprise gift from his son on opening night. The one we have today is a reproduction. The original one is still here. It was water damaged in 1967 when a tornado came through Concordia and took the roof off the theater. In 1907, it seated 1,000. It was a legitimate theater, had lots of touring companies. The Schuberts and the Erlangers had contracts with the Browns to bring their touring shows through here. They had wrestling and boxing exhibitions. They had opera, local entertainment, vaudeville. It was very diverse. By 1925, the theater was a movie house, first with silent films, then talkies came in 1929, and from 29 to 1974, it served as a movie house, still with lots of live entertainment, too. There were school programs, local entertainment, so a lot of people, depending on when they grew up, came here to see both film and live entertainment. Then in the 70s, a group of people who had a lot of vision thought it should be restored. They raised over $500,000 between 1974 and 1980 to see that this building was restored. When the theater reopened in 1980, it reopened on the same date that it opened in 1907, on September 17th, which was no coincidence. It reopened looking as it had in 1907. This is the way it looked, same color combination. It was one of the first public buildings in Concordia to have electricity, and they were really proud of the fact that it had electricity because on the opening night program, of which we have several copies of it, they boldly stayed on there 535 electric light bulbs, which electricity would have been a big deal at that time. Well, when it reopened, it also reopened with the same play. It was called the Vanderbilt Cup. It was, oddly enough, about a New York car race, and we did the same production as a community theater production. It was a musical, not heavy on plot, but it was sure a fun one. I happened to be part of the cast, and it was so exciting. Not only was it the same date, on the same stage, doing the same play in the same theater, but on that reopening night on the front row, there were 3 ladies who had been here as little girls in 1907, and it was really exciting. Mostly, we are really proud of the fact that Colonel Brown built this theater in the first place, that it survived all those decades, and that there are still people in the community who care enough to keep us where we are now.
Probably the biggest change is the 4-lane highway going through, and also the expansion of the college. It's got a campus now in Junction City, and many new buildings and dormitories have been added. And so the college is really a strong force for the community.
I always look forward to Cloud County sports, like basketball.
I went to Cloud County and have great memories of it and met my husband here.
I now live in Abilene, but I'm native to the Glasgow area for several generations on both sides of my family. My great-great-grandfather on the maternal side of my family came to Cloud County in 1880s and settled a homestead east of Glasgow. I knew my great-grandfather, Lewis Herman Kuhl, and I was in that house when I was a small child. And one thing in particular I do remember about him, he was a very big man, but that doesn't really occur to a child. We were there for some kind of celebration, probably Thanksgiving, and he was sitting in his huge chair with his foot up, and his foot was bandaged. Well, I know now that that was a chronic condition with him, but I stood beside the chair, and he reached over and picked me up and sat me in his lap and was talking to me. I don't remember what he said, but he had a very low voice, and I've heard people say that he was a good singer. But I remember his face was so big, and his nose was red. and I felt very, it was a very special thing that he would pick me up and set me on his lap. But I didn't, of course, know at the time that I was the first great-great-grandchild. Oh, we went in the museum. I did quite a lot of filming in a good portion of it in the museum, and I did the same thing in there. There are some photographs hanging on the wall that are significant to the early history of Glasgow. I think the population was around 800, and it's probably about 500 now, 480 to 500. So the population's gone down a little bit. The school's much smaller than it used to be. They no longer, or at least at this point, don't have a grocery store, don't have a service station. So it's becoming a common phenomena in Kansas that these small towns, if they are to survive, become retirement communities, and they become bedroom communities for people who are willing to commute. Glasgow seems to be responding to that, and it seems to be sort of stabilizing now and growing to become a different kind of community than it was before.
I went over and interviewed 3 of the committee members for a park in Meltonville called Toodleville, which is a park it's really pretty neat. It's made out of like all wood.
This is a community-built playground, and it was built in April 10th through the 14th of 2002. Fundraising was done over a period of about a year, and we've to date raised over $91,000, and the structure cost $85,000.
I guess the reason I picked this was because my girlfriend's dad does construction, and they asked for volunteers to help build it. It was like all volunteer and all like donations of money, and he helped build it. So when they opened it up, they like invited him, and so I went with them. So I was like there the day they opened the park. I just remember there being a lot of people, and I'd only been to Meltonville maybe a couple times when I was little, and I knew that it was pretty small, and I was pretty amazed with how many people were there when it opened. And it was just like a big picnic type thing, like all the people from the town or anybody who helped with it or anything came and ate like hot dogs and hamburgers. People just brought food.
This is the pirate ship that was built. It included in the playground. And the reason it was put in is because years ago, the Meltonville school system's mascot was the Purple Pirates.
Like I said, all the money was donated, and so they had to raise like over $90,000. And I don't know, it's pretty amazing, I guess, for a small town like Meltonville to do something like that.
I think it was a remarkable achievement for a town of our size And we are one of the smallest towns to ever build one of these, and I think that speaks well for our town.
I live in Jamestown, which is a small community in about 10 miles west of Concordia, Kansas. Jamestown is, right now, it has grown by 100 from the last census. It went from 300 to 400, and that's unusual for small towns. With a census, they're usually decreasing, and so we were pretty proud of that, and we're also we label ourselves as a bedroom community. Most communities don't want to be called that, but we are. Most of the people work someplace else, and we even just recently opened up a little mini mart, a business did, and it's a house, old house, and they've stuffed every corner with little grocery products and so on into it. In the year 2001, we had a major fire downtown, and it burned the city hall and some adjacent buildings, and this fire ignited some buildings, but it also ignited some enthusiasm. The citizens had an organizational meeting, a town meeting, and divided up in committees, and from that it started, and we asked the state, was there anything that could help us, because we didn't have a city hall anymore. We were meeting in the funeral home in the town for our meetings, and the church let us have some of our meetings in theirs. And so from that those committee meetings, and we organized into what could we do with some of the homes. Some of them needed to demolish, some needed to be rehabilitated. And we also had to decide what we were going to do with that downtown area that burnt. And then, of course, we had the school that was closed with consolidation and had the gym, and wanted to see once, and we thought, could we do a community center? And from day one, with the Commerce and Housing Department of Kansas, they came out and helped us work through the entire process. And it was a town effort. It wasn't just my effort as mayor or the city council, and we had these committees. And from day one, I felt like we would get the grant. And we went through the process, and it took 2 years. And just before Christmas, last year, got a telephone call from Commerce and Housing and said, "Merry Christmas, you got your $1.5 million grant." Then, and in addition, with the homes, it came to about almost $1.8 million. I have found that living in a small town like that people work together. The orphan train was that for a period of time, starting in the late 1800s and until early 1900s, that thousands upon thousands of children were taken from New York and brought to the Midwest. My father-in-law came on the orphan train, so I've had this interest in it, and he raised his family in Jamestown, and he died in the 1990s. My father-in-law never talked about it. Very little do they know about it, because you tried to hide the idea, because kids would make fun of orphans, and so you just didn't talk about that you had been an orphan. And he has since passed away, but he was interviewed, and I have that interview, and I just recently typed it up. But he tells the story that they got a message that a box arrived, a wooden crate, and his dad went in to get it, and he never saw what was in it. So he thinks that his real father sent things, and they didn't get it, because his mom had died, and he remembers his dad saying, "I'm going to come back and get you," when he left him at the orphanage, but he didn't, and they were like 5 and 4.
Clyde is a small rural community on the east edge of Cloud County. They have a school district that is shared with the Clifton, the city of Clifton, which is about 7 miles to the east. They have two banks in this small town, and they have a hotel that has been refurbished and is in very good condition and is used as a hotel. And it is basically an agriculture community. And so as I was coming back from Clyde, I stopped there and took a shot of the Republican River Valley cropland. The agriculture, probably production has increased tremendously. The number of farmers has decreased tremendously. because of the size of equipment that they now use. The hospital was probably the health care center of quite a large area when I first came here. It is not probably serving as large of an area as it did back then. We had a large clinic up here and there were several doctors, and it kept the hospital busy with all the clients that they would send to it. Today they have the healthcare center is located in the hospital on one of the floors.
I'm Sue Evison. I'm the manager of the Family Care Center, which is the physician side of the Cloud County Health Center. And we have been moved into the third floor of the hospital for just 1 year. And we have 4 physicians here in mid-levels and see many patients.
Cloud County Health Center has enjoyed a long history and tradition of providing care to the patients in this region. Currently, we are an employer of 128 people.
My name is Michelle Metro. I'm the Director of Nursing here at Cloud County Health Center in Concordia, Kansas. This is our med-surg unit here. We are critical access now. We have 25 beds that we can use, 15 acute and 10 swing beds. This is one of our birthing suites here at Cloud County Health Center. We have 2 of them. Each one contains a hot tub. They do the hydrotherapy here for the laboring moms if they choose. We also do the epidurals. Basically, the nursing care is one-on-one. We do the delivery here in this room. We recover the mother-baby here, and then they go down to the second floor where they do the rooming in. This is the family waiting room. It was also designed and remodeled a few years ago when they did the laboring units. We're now at the emergency room at Cloud County Health Center. This is our major trauma room. Our room 1 here is where we do all of our major traumas, our cardiacs. We have our Broslow flying carpet. We see an average on at least 300 patients a month. We have a couple other minor rooms. We often have overflow rooms down into PDS.
Our institution is a dynamic, growing institution and delivers a good quality of care.
It's a unique situation. 2 small towns, 2 small schools, 24 miles apart, each struggling to keep their own identity in their own schools. About 10 years ago, a little longer maybe, numbers started to get small enough that it was already 1 district, but they had 2 sports teams, and they were huge inter-county rivals. And they decided that numbers were small enough in order to continue to field teams and maintain winning traditions. They were going to have to consolidate their sports teams. And so after much discussion and deliberation and give and take on both sides, that's what they ultimately did. So we are now 2 K-12 schools, 1 in Miltonville, 1 in Glasgow, with 1 sports team. So if you look for us in the sports pages, we're Southern Cloud. But if you look for Southern Cloud High School, it doesn't exist because it's the 2 schools. We share some teachers back and forth. We share a music teacher back and forth, a shop teacher back and forth and stuff. But when it comes to the end of the day and it's time to go to practice, the Miltonville kids 1 week will get on a bus and go to Glasgow to practice, and then come home after practice, and the next week the Glasgow kids get on a bus and come to Miltonville and practice. We split everything. And so the week that, say, the junior high is practicing in Miltonville, that same week the Glasgow kids, or the high school kids, are practicing in Glasgow. To the outside world, it's kind of a busting logistics nightmare, but to those of us on the inside, it just works, and it's a way of life, and it's been successful so far. You know, the small schools, people in our towns firmly believe that that's where the best education is, and I will tell you that what we do in Southern Cloud, we do as well as any place in the world. Where we fall short sometimes is some of their extracurricular offerings. You know, we don't have a fax program. Now it's starting to come to the point people are realizing, hey, maybe we could increase our enrollment, maybe we could do better things for our students if we would somehow consolidate our services and do those things. And I think once we do that, that'll make us even more competitive, and it'll give us a greater edge on maybe becoming the school of choice in north central Kansas.
First interview is Heath Martin, and he's the director of admissions. He just recently has returned back to the area. He's young, really ambitious, real outgoing, and wanted to come back to a smaller town.
One of our biggest exports from this north central Kansas is our children. And I feel like I was raised in a quality environment, a quality location. I grew up in a small town close to Concordia. And I went to college and got my college education and felt that I owed something back to rural Kansas. And I think education is something that's going to propel rural parts of America and help them grow and prosper. And I feel that it's an investment in my community, the community that I grew up in, and that's probably one of the main reasons that I chose to come back to Concordia.
Then the second interview is with Dr. Knox, who's the president of the college. And he has just been transplanted from, I believe, North Carolina recently, and has come just kind of to get back to the Midwest and to a smaller town, and I think to a smaller college. And he has a background in criminal justice and has done a lot of things in that area, and then worked at another small college back in the East Coast, and just recently came back here.
Well, I think the first thing that impressed me when I came for an interview was the people. The people are genuine, friendly, interested in education. We have what I consider to be the finest group of faculty, staff, and administrators of any place in the state of Kansas. So Cloud County is not a unique place, but it's a special place because we have many talented people here.
Cloud County is a small school. It's a community college. My memories of Cloud, and I think the reason people still come to Cloud, is that it's a real family atmosphere. You've probably heard that, and I don't know if it's being kind of overused, but really we felt a real strong sense that the teachers really cared about being here. I'm sure not the highest paid salaries out there in, across the state, because it is a small college and it is in a rural area. And so there's a reason for them wanting to be here, and there's a reason for them wanting to teach. And we just found it really friendly. I mean, my memories were all of the people that came here. A lot of them were from small towns, but you get a real wide array of people. I played basketball, and my husband played basketball here, and of course, as far as recruitment, you get people in from all walks of life there. So being on my own for the first time, being away from home, they have the campus apartments, and you live 4 people to a room, and we all hung out together. Whether you played baseball or basketball, or whether you were one of the top-notch academic people on Cloud, or whether you were an Aggie, or if you were from New York City, those apartments, everybody just kind of hung out together, and that's what I remember. It's been really, really a great opportunity to come back and work for the college, because I mean, as silly as that sounds, you do feel like you want to give something back to the school that you came to, and I felt like it was a real growing experience for me. And it's an opportunity to raise our kids here, too.
I was born in Concordia. I've lived here all my life. After finishing college at K-State and law school at Washburn, I moved back to Concordia.
I'm a sister of St. Joseph of Concordia, Kansas, and I entered the community of the sisters in 1993.
I live in Miltonville. I came to Miltonville 5 years ago. I was the principal at Miltonville for 4 years, prior to this year assuming the superintendent duties as well.
The first time I saw the Mother House would have been in February of 1993. And I can remember driving up to it and just being awed by its structure and by what it represented to me, which was a house of prayer and a community of women who were really striving to bring about unity and reconciliation in the world, striving to know the mind and heart of God and to be God's hands and eyes here on earth. The first time I entered the building, there's just a peacefulness inside. I mean, it's very calm and very peaceful, and the sisters, there's a very gentle spirit. I interviewed Sister Ann Vincent, who has been in Concordia 53 years. Most people in Cloud County know Sister Ann.
The signs came on my truck, were given to me just kind of an honor thing at one of the early Mardi Gras. and it's on a mission with God and low-flying angels, and I guess I've flown low for many years.
I interviewed Mr. Jerry Gallagher, who's our Mother House administrator, talking in terms of the Sisters of St. Joseph are one of the major employers here in Cloud County, that we have between 85 and 90 lay employees who work for us at the Mother House and Manor House and so on.
I think the sisters have been a very good place to work for. They appreciate what you do. They're a very caring employee, and I just enjoy the day-by-day relationships I have with the sisters and the other staff here.
And then I interviewed people at Manor House to talk more about their programs.
My responsibilities include advertising brochures and stuff like that, but the main thing is probably coordinating people wanting to come in and use the facilities, whether it's groups, churches, individuals coming for private retreats. Some people just want to get away sometimes, need some quiet space, and so I coordinate that.
We offer a variety of programs, and we probably have over 500 persons that come in for some kind of workshop or retreat and or spiritual direction. We have persons coming from all over the world, in fact.
Currently, Sister Lori Kurtz is 25 years old and is a novice with us and lives here in Concordia. And as a novice, spends her day then in prayer, in study, and learning more about the sisters. She's also a trained physical therapist, and so she will do some physical therapy with the sisters. And then, like, help sisters learn computers and that type of thing. Also took pictures of the Rose window, which is a huge stained glass window on the 4th floor. And that is an area that is not available to the public on tours. And so I did take a picture of that. I'm glad that we're here in Cloud County. A lot of times I travel quite a bit, and as I come back into Cloud County, every time I cross the line that says Cloud County, my heart just leaps for joy, because I do just love Cloud County. I love the people. They've been very good to the Sisters of St. Joseph, very kind to us. I think we have a good partnership with them. We partner with them on a lot of projects, and they support the sisters. And so Cloud County is very important to us.
The Resource Council started as just the food bank, and over the years it has grown and expanded to include additional services for utility assistance, children's programs, medical assistance. So the program has really expanded in the last 25 years to provide more services. I videotaped the Resources Council's annual meeting. I have also interviewed Abby Farron, who supervises our summer lunch program.
We fix lunches at the elementary school for up to 65 kids usually, and deliver them to Camp OurCloud and the Concordia After School program, and then I take my lunches to the 2nd Street Park. And once at the 2nd Street Park, I plan a craft activity to do with the kids. Sometimes we bring in people from the community to help with activities. We've had Pawnee Mental Health bring activities. Every Monday usually we have ladies from the health department come and do a nutrition program, and the kids really enjoy that too because they get dessert. And then they get their well-rounded meal with the 4 basic food groups.
I think it's important for citizens to know that there are resources out there available to help.
I went to the Ag Market.
Hello, I'm Mark Paul with Ag Mark here in Concordia, Kansas. We have a grain handling facility here that was built to take the grain out of the north central Kansas area. It is made up of 4 member cooperatives.
They ship grain like the surrounding area, towns like Delphus and Beloit and little towns like that come and ship grain, or haul grain here, and it's shipped out by train.
This is the only location that we have that is a train loadout facility. We load out 110-car shuttle trains out of here. To date, we've loaded out about 14,000 rail cars. We handle roughly 160 loads of grain a day, and is one of the most automated facilities in north central Kansas. It is one of the fastest loadout facilities in America. We can load out 110 rail cars in about 8 hours. It takes about 3 minutes and 45 seconds to load a rail car with 4,000 bushel of grain.
It's all ran by a computer. It's the most automated grain elevator in the United States.
Behind me is actually the elevator. It has the ability to monitor grain coming in from every truckload. It watches it go into the bin, and it tracks it clear to when it goes in the rail car. It works with the identity preserve principle that we can actually keep track of every rail car and know which grain came from what truck and from which farm to the end user.
He said that he's given like 200 and some odd tours of the place to people all around the world because they're wanting to learn about the business and how to improve their elevators. And he said that farmers make 18 to 20 cents more profit per bushel, and their profit they make stays in the county. It's divided up between the shareholders.
We've been very fortunate with the members here that we built Agmark. It is a LLC made up of the 4 members, and the reason we did that was to return the profits to the north central Kansas farmer.
I just thought it was kind of neat that he said it takes 3.5 minutes to load a grain car there, where if you go to a different elevator, it could take 20 minutes to an hour. And it really only takes 4 people to run that elevator, where it'd take many to run a different elevator without that kind of technology. And we went clear up to the top and got some shots, just how far you could see. You could see like Delphus and Jamestown from the top.
My assignment was to go out to Alstom Power Air Preheating Company. It's a metal fabrication company. It's very high tech. They make a lot of large metal fabricated products, and they ship them around the world.
Hi, my name's Tyler Odell. I'm a mechanical engineer here at Alstom Power in Concordia, Kansas. And I'm going to be taking you on a shop tour today. And I'm just going to briefly show you some of our machines and what they do. The first machine I'm going to start with is a Whitney plasma punch with a live drill. And this machine makes a lot of our parts here and is a very important machine to our facility. And this would be an example of some of the parts that it cuts out. And what it does is it has a live drill, and it has punching capabilities as well as a plasma cutter. And it'll allow us to create parts without having to lay them out. And we can use our computer programs to generate manufactured parts with this machine. This machine is a plate roll. It's manufactured by Montgomery. It will roll a 1-inch piece of plate that's 10 feet wide, and we're capable of rolling 20 feet diameters. What you're seeing here is the operator's preparing the plate to be rolled, and he's kind of presetting the roll. It's called pre-bending. And then he'll roll it in a diameter and use a radius gauge to check the radius as he's bending it. This machine is a G&L Giddings & Lewis MC50. It's a horizontal boring machine, and it has 2 pallets. What the operator is doing here is facing a shaft, making sure that both ends are true before we machine it. This is our robotic welder, and the operator right now is programming it to weld riffle elements. We purchased this robot in '96, and we've ran it over 14,000 hours here at Alstom. This machine is a vertical turning lathe. It's for machining very hard parts. It's a special machine for Concordia. There's only a few of these machines in the world, and we use it for machining grinding rolls that pulverize the coal in a power plant. It's one of our newer machines. We use it for machining high-precision shafts and doing a lot of our round work. It is computer-controlled, and the programs are generated by our programming department.
It's the biggest employer in Cloud County.
There's Danny, he's the president of F&A Food Sales, and then we actually had his daughter do the interview, and I just filmed it. Well, we took footage of the warehouse, which is where they store all their stuff. They got like 4 different freezers of just, I mean, they're like huge buildings that are just a huge freezer. They're like -5 or they got -20. They can make them whatever they want. She also asked the story about how it got all started, and he gave the out of the back of my car story. And then we took pictures of some of the semis that they used to carry the goods all over the place.
Me and a friend of mine from high school started the business in 1970 here in Concordia. We came here to go to college at Cloud County Community College. Well, we started with 2 employees and 1 car for a delivery vehicle, and today we have a fleet of 40 pieces of equipment, tractors and trailers to deliver our products, and we go to about 8 states from this facility. We've added on or expanded 14 times since we've been here. We're in what's called the dry section where the dry groceries are stored. We also have freezers and coolers that we can show you a little bit later. But we'll kind of walk through here. This facility has 2.2 million cubic feet of storage space. We have about 12 receiving doors, and the trucks are unloaded, and then the product's put away. This is a day shift, what they do during the day. We're on what we call the cooler dock. This is a refrigerated dock area where you can see the doors. We receive product for the freezers and coolers right here. Now this is a cooler. It's a 2-temperature cooler, and we store produce and cheese and meats and things like that in there. We're one of the largest ice cream distributors in the central part of the United States. We ship ice cream to all the major grocery chains like Dillon's and Albertsons. We have over 40 pieces of equipment, tractors and trailers. They travel throughout the 8 states that we deliver in. And they're 2-temperature trucks that we can carry frozen foods on them and dry groceries on the same truck.
Kind of like an American dream, coming from Wichita, Kansas, and then selling out of the back of his car. He probably didn't have any idea that he'd be as big as he is today.
I've enjoyed raising my family here in Cloud County, and our 3 children went through the schools here, and I think they received a very good education.
Here in Concordia, I like it. It's a pretty small town, nice environment.
You know everyone, and you don't have to fight traffic or anything to go anywhere.
I interviewed Ruth and Isidore Bombardier, and Garrett Farha did the videotaping. He's a graduate of John Culley's program here at Concordia High School.
For, let's see, a period of 10 years, we lived over at Jamestown, and we had 2 children over there, and then we moved to Concordia and had our 3rd child, and we've lived here ever since.
I interviewed them because they've been such tremendous volunteers in our community. They help with numerous activities through their church, helping people at the nursing home, taking meals and communion to people that are shut in.
I volunteered up at Mount Joseph Nursing Home for, it's been over 10 years, half a day a week. And if I have other commitments, Izzy goes in my place. Or if we're both going to be out of town, then we just trade days with someone, you know. And work a lot in the church, funeral dinners and like that, and a lot in the VFW auxiliary.
You know, I've been on the commission here for 14 years.
The city commission?
City commission, and just mayor 4 times. But we have these people that's on zoning and housing and all that. they volunteer all their time for those. And you know, those people need to be, you know, they don't get paid for that. And they have to take a little guts, you know. But they're, you know, what would we do without these volunteer people? And we have so many of them here in Concordia. It's just great. And another thing that we do that I go to the hospital every Sunday, and I have for the last 6, 7 years, and I take communion to the Catholics, and I visit everybody that I know up there.
Talked to Izzy about his experiences in World War II. He was injured in combat in Germany. The battle, around the time of the Battle of the Bulge, he was involved in that. He was in a hospital in France for many years. Excuse me, not many years, for a number of months recuperating. He was paralyzed from the neck down.
I heard these machine guns, and I had a problem getting over that machine gun firing when I was in the hospital. I could hear that going all the time. And it took me about 3 months to overcome that.
Izzy and his family, I think, symbolize what happened after World War II with the veterans coming home and their commitment to their families, to community, to making a better place for people to live.
Being 82 years old and still, you know, that's an honor for me to do. You know, they're thankful that I come, but I still think it's my greatest honor for me that I can still do this.
The first assignment that I had for Smoky Hills was to go into the music club meeting, their January meeting, because I think that clubs and organizations are a very important part of a town. They provide the quality of life that you don't get from just the regular organizations, the civic things that where people receive a salary. The music club is one of the many organizations that provide a scholarship to students here, and we have given hundreds of dollars in scholarships. Music Club also sponsors a Vesper service to bring in the Advent season, the first Sunday in December, and this brings all the choirs together from all the different churches, and this is the only opportunity that all these church musicians have to meet and sing together and worship in a community atmosphere.
My name is Mary Cummings, and I've only been in the music club for about a year now, but I just love the way that it brings the community together when we have community sings, when we have Vesper services, and the information that we get from each other in our programs that we present.
I have been in the music club. This is the third music club that I have belonged to. I started in Atwood in 1960, and I then was in the Beloit Music Club, and I've been in the Concordia Music Club since 1971.
After music club, I went out to Sunset Rest Home, and I have two dear friends out there. Both of them are over 100 years old.
We came here in 1931. Bennett was in Washburn. I was teaching rural schools out at Norton County, and he went down to Washburn to go to school, and I finished out the term. When we were married at Christmas time, 23rd, and at that time, teachers weren't supposed to get married, and so we didn't say anything about it till spring.
You know, they contributed in many ways to the community, and I don't like for them to be forgotten.
I started tutoring in my home. It was sort of accidental. A girl needed help with algebra. I told her I could help her. She was a friend of mine, and so I helped her with algebra, and from then on I tutored constantly until I came up here to Sunset Home. I couldn't begin to bring my materials with me, so I had to quit tutoring. I enjoyed that one-to-one. I enjoyed that personal contact. It was a fun occasion. I recommend everybody live to 100 and celebrate.
I had enjoyed videotaping. I've sort of been like a magnet to a camcorder when I got my first one in 1995, and I love to interview and to me, it's another way of lifting up people. To me, journalism hopefully can be a positive experience.
When you say our town, the first thing that comes to my mind is Main Street. So I thought it might be a good idea to visit with some of the business people that have been in Concordia for 20 years or more and get their thoughts about living and working in our town.
Well, I've been here for about 9 years now. The community's great. I came from Southern California. There's a lot of problems with Southern California that I just don't see here in Concordia. I have 2 children, and this is a great place to raise my kids.
I moved to Concordia in the summer of 1964. I had been working for a Tom's Music House in Nebraska, Norfolk, Nebraska at that time for 2 or 3 years, and came down here to manage the store that they had. It was an existing store that was here at that time. It had been here for about 5 or 6 years when I moved here, and I've been here ever since.
Well, I've been the director of the Frank Carlson Library for about 19 years, and it's a job that I really like because I really like the small town life here. It's different from what I expected when I moved here, and very positively different. I think that our real benefit here in Concordia is that although we're a rather conservative community, we're extremely progressive. And that combination really enhances the quality of life.
Well, I've lived in Concordia since 1945, and my family has been raised here. My daughter and my son both went to high school here, and I felt they had good educations, and I had a good education here. We like the small town, or we wouldn't have stayed, and we felt like we've had really good support from our medical people and from the high school and the grade schools, and we really enjoy living here.
I've been here for 9 years. It's just been 9 of the best years of my life. I've spent a lot of time in central Kansas, some in Colorado, some in the Kansas City area, and I came to the Concordia area because I wanted to be in a community that looked more wholesome than what I was seeing in the eastern part of the state. And it's true. It's just a fantastic area to raise children.
The reason I like Concordia, it's not too large. It's a good place to bring up your kids. The people are friendly. We raised our oldest son, Scott, and our younger son, Trent, here.
I've been here approximately 34 years. I came up here as a school teacher. I like the community. I like the atmosphere. I like the people. Its size of the town is about right.
I really like Concordia because of its friendly atmosphere. Everywhere you go, you know someone, and everyone's so friendly.
Probably the best thing I can say about this town is the public education. The school system is great. I've got 2 kids that graduated from high school here and went on to college, and both have done very well, and I have to thank the public educational system around here. We have very, very good teachers, and most of them stay around for a long time.
Well, I encountered a lot of helpful people when I shot the interviews, a lot of good people for the man-on-the-street interviews. They were very cooperative and very willing. And overall, I found it a very positive and fulfilling experience. It was fun, which was good, and I enjoyed it.
Presentation of Our Town, A Day in Cloud County on Smoky Hills Public Television is made possible by an underwriting grant from the Citizens National Bank, a locally owned family bank with locations in Concordia, Belleville, Greenleaf, and Clay Center, covering north central Kansas and assisting you with your financial needs. By Farm Bureau Financial Services, helping people like you for more than 60 years, with information about insurance and financial products and the location of your nearest local agent available at this website. the Concordia Blade Empire, by Cloud County Community College, Prairie Fire Steakhouse, Funk Pharmacy and Medical Equipment, Brown Grand Theater, by Century 21, Tom's Music House, Gold Bank of Concordia, by Welcome Service, People's Exchange Bank, Cloud Corp, and by Knowles Travel of Concordia and Salina.